I'm staring at a marriage certificate with Elvis's signature on it and the woman I've known for a decade. My best friend, my partner in crime, the person who once helped me catfish my ex-boyfriend using photos of a prize-winning poodle, just said the 4 words that are currently dissolving my entire reality like cotton candy in rain. I've always loved you. Not loved past tense. Not love like nachos or Netflix. The kind with weight. The kind that rearranges furniture in your chest. And the kicker? She wants to stay married. For a month. To try it out. Like we're test driving a Honda Civic. Except the Honda Civic is holy matrimony and I'm apparently the idiot who signed the paperwork while blackout drunk on something called a unicorn tear martini. 24 hours earlier, I had been a single, semi-functional disaster with a decent credit score and a healthy fear of commitment. Now I'm married to Riley Chin, and she's looking at me like I'm the last life vest on the Titanic while I'm pretty sure I'm actually the iceberg. Autumn, she says, and God, the way she says my name. Like it's a secret she's been keeping in her mouth for years, warming it with her tongue before finally letting it out. Just 1 month. If it doesn't work, we'll get the annulment. Clean slate. No weirdness. No weirdness. I'm shrieking now, gesturing wildly at the hotel room that looks like a wedding reception exploded. There's white tulle hanging from the ceiling fan. There are rose petals forming a path to the bathroom. There's a half-eaten wedding cake on the dresser with 2 plastic brides on top. And I'm 70% sure one of them is missing a head because I have a vague, horrifying memory of drunkenly declaring that marriage is a patriarchal construct, before biting into buttercream and plastic. Riley's still in her wedding outfit, a white suit that makes her look like a sexy motivational speaker, all sharp angles and soft curves in the exact places that have always made me look away quickly, like staring at the sun. Her hair's a mess, that asymmetrical black bob sticking up on one side. And she's got glitter on her cheekbone that catches the Nevada light streaming through the curtains. She looks devastating. She looks like my best friend. She looks like someone who just confessed to being in love with me for 10 years. When you say 10 years, I start, my voice coming out strangled. Do you mean like 10 years of vaguely thinking I'm cool or 10 years of actual legitimate? Since sophomore year of college, she interrupts, and her voice cracks just slightly on the word college. Since you fell asleep on my shoulder during that terrible film theory class and drooled on my favorite flannel. Since you woke up and instead of being embarrassed, you just looked at the wet spot and said, I christened this shirt the SS Friendship, and went back to sleep. I remember that. Of course I remember that. I remember everything about Riley because she's been the main character of my life story since we were randomly assigned as roommates and she walked in carrying a single potted fern and a concerning amount of confidence for someone wearing Crocs. That's not. I'm pacing now, stepping over champagne bottles and what appears to be a feather boa. That's not romance, Riley. That's just me being gross and you having Stockholm Syndrome from shared housing. You think I don't know the difference? She stands up and suddenly the room feels smaller. Riley's not particularly tall, 5'6" in shoes, but she has this presence, this gravitational pull that makes you orbit around her whether you intend to or not. Autumn, I've dated other people. You've dated other people. Terrible people. Remember Lighthouse Josh? We don't talk about Lighthouse Josh, I mutter, because Lighthouse Josh had been a pretentious maritime enthusiast who'd broken up with me via interpretive dance. I watched you cry over him for 3 weeks while eating cheese directly from the block, Riley continues, moving closer. And the entire time I wanted to shake you and tell you that he didn't deserve your tears or your emotional cheese consumption. That I was right there. That I've always been right there. My back hits the wall. Literally, not metaphorically, although metaphorically works too. There's a framed photo of Elvis next to my head and he seems to be judging me. Why didn't you say something? The question comes out as a whisper because my throat's doing that tight thing that happens right before I cry or throw up, and I'm not sure which is coming. Because you're my best friend. She's close enough now that I can smell her perfume. Something citrusy and sharp that I'd helped her pick out 3 years ago at Sephora while we were both tipsy on free sample mimosas. Because losing you completely would be worse than having you partially. Because I'm a coward who apparently needed to consume an entire bottle of champagne and your terrible influence to finally do what I should have done a decade ago. Which was kiss you in that Elvis chapel and mean it. The memory slams into me like a freight train made of bad decisions and good intentions. Apple. The lights. Riley's hand in mine as some Elvis impersonator with a surprisingly good voice asked if we were sure about this, and both of us screaming yes. like we were at a rock concert instead of legally binding ourselves to another human being. But there'd been a kiss. There'd definitely been a kiss. And if I'm being honest, like the kind of honest you can only be when you're hungover in a Vegas hotel room with your accidental wife staring at you like you're a math problem she's trying to solve, I'd kissed her back. I'd really kissed her back. Riley. I'm gripping the wall behind me like it might provide answers or an escape route. This is insane. People don't just accidentally get married and then decide to make it real. That's a rom-com plot, not a life plan. So, her eyes are doing that thing they do when she's about to win an argument, going all bright and determined. You love rom-coms. You cry every time you watch When Harry Met Sally. You've seen The Proposal 17 times. 18. I correct automatically, then immediately regret it because it proves her point. Autumn Marie Harrison. She uses my full name, which she only does when she's serious or when she's about to convince me to do something phenomenally stupid. 1 month. 30 days. We're already in Vegas. We're already married. We already have this ridiculous honeymoon suite that we apparently paid for with your credit card. What? And worst case scenario, we get an annulment and we have a really bizarre story to tell at parties. Best case scenario. She trails off, letting the implication hang in the air like the disco ball that's inexplicably rotating above the bed. Best case scenario what? I demand, even though part of me, a significant part, maybe even a majority percentage, already knows what she's going to say. Best case scenario, you feel even a fraction of what I feel, and we get to stop being idiots who are in love with each other but too scared to admit it. I never said I was in love with you, I point out, but my voice sounds weak even to my own ears. You married me, Riley counters, and she's smiling now, that lopsided smile that's caused me to make countless questionable decisions over the years. Like the time she convinced me to adopt a 3-legged cat named Optimus Prime. Or when we started that Etsy shop selling artisanal friendship bracelets that were just regular friendship bracelets we made while drunk. I married you while under the influence of unicorn tears. You married me while under the influence of truth, she says quietly, and that does it. That's the sentence that reaches into my chest and squeezes my heart like a stress ball. Because maybe she's right. Maybe I did. I think about every relationship I've had in the past 10 years. The boyfriends who never quite measured up to some invisible standard I couldn't articulate. The girlfriend in grad school who'd accused me of being emotionally unavailable because I kept comparing her unfavorably to some friend named Riley. The countless first dates that never became second dates because something always felt missing, like showing up to a concert and realizing the lead singer isn't performing. And then I think about Riley. Riley, who knows I like my coffee with an obscene amount of caramel syrup and exactly 3 ice cubes. Riley, who watched every episode of my terrible reality TV obsession without complaint and eventually became more invested than I was. Riley, who learned to make my grandmother's cookie recipe after she died because she knew I couldn't eat them without crying but couldn't stop craving them either. Riley, who's been the most important person in my life for so long that I'd stopped questioning why. 1 month, I hear myself say, and Riley's face does something that makes my stomach flip like a pancake. But we need ground rules. Obviously. She's trying to play it cool, but I can see her hands shaking slightly as she reaches for the hotel notepad and pen. I'm excellent at rules. I'm a rule person. You know this about me. This is a lie. Riley Chin has never followed a rule in her life unless it was funny or beneficial to her immediate goals. But I let her grab the notepad anyway, and we sit on the bed, the massive heart-shaped monstrosity that's covered in red satin sheets and probably has seen more action than a Marvel movie. Rule 1, Riley announces, clicking the pen with unnecessary authority. We have to actually try. No sabotaging. I would never sabotage. You sabotaged your relationship with Marcus by accidentally calling him the wrong name for 3 months. I genuinely thought his name was Matt. His name was on your phone, Autumn. As Marcus with the decent hair. Fair point. Fine, I concede. No sabotaging. Rule 2, we have to be honest. Like aggressively honest. No more hiding feelings or pretending or whatever we've apparently been doing for 10 years. Riley writes this down, and I notice her handwriting is the same chaotic mix of print and cursive it's always been, like her brain moves too fast for consistent penmanship. Rule 3, she continues, we have to go on actual dates. Not just hanging out like we always do. Real dates. Romance. Effort. Does this mean I can't wear sweatpants? You can wear whatever you want. She glances up and there's something soft in her expression that makes my chest hurt. I'm not trying to change you. I'm trying to add context to what we already have. That might be the most Riley thing she's ever said. Rule 4, I add, thinking hard. At the end of 30 days, we both have to be honest about whether this is working. No guilt trips. No manipulation. If one of us wants out, we get the annulment and we figure out how to go back to being friends. Can we go back? Riley asks quietly. If this doesn't work? It's the question I've been avoiding because I don't know the answer. We have to, I say finally, even though I'm not sure I believe it. Because the alternative is losing you completely, and that's not an option. She nods, writing down Rule 4 with slightly less enthusiasm than the others. Rule 5, she says after a moment. We tell people. Absolutely not. Autumn. Riley, we can't tell people we accidentally got married in Vegas. My mother will have a stroke. Your mother will have a stroke and then resurrect herself just to kill me. Our friends will never let us live this down. Our friends will find out eventually, Riley points out. We literally live in the same apartment complex. We share a Netflix account. Mrs. Rodriguez from 4B already thinks we're dating. Mrs. Rodriguez thinks everyone's dating. She asked the mailman if he and the UPS guy were having an affair. Were they? Not the point. Riley's laughing now, that full-body laugh that makes her throw her head back and clutch her stomach, and I'm laughing too because this is insane. All of this is completely insane, and somehow I've agreed to be married to my best friend for a month like it's a trial period for a gym membership. Okay, Riley says when she catches her breath. Modified Rule 5. We tell people on a need-to-know basis. But we don't actively hide it. Deal. Deal. She holds out her hand for a shake and I take it, and the moment our palms touch I feel it. That electric thing I've been very carefully ignoring for longer than I'd like to admit. The thing that made me hold her hand too long at that party last year. The thing that made me weirdly jealous when she dated that barista with the French braid expertise. Riley feels it too. I can tell by the way her breath catches, by the way her fingers curl around mine just a fraction tighter than necessary. So, she says, and her voice has gone low and a little rough. Are we doing this? I look at her, really look at her. At the glitter still sparkling on her cheek. At the rumpled white suit and the messy hair and the hope written all over her face like graffiti on a wall. I look at the marriage certificate on the nightstand. I look at the ring on my finger. A simple silver band that we apparently purchased from a gift shop, based on the tiny, I Heart Suit Vegas engraved on the inside. And I think, fuck it. We're doing this, I confirm, and Riley's smile is so bright it could power the entire strip. She kisses me then, not like she kissed me in the chapel during our drunken ceremony, but soft and careful and asking a question. And I kiss her back, not like drunk Autumn who apparently makes terrible decisions, but like sober Autumn who's finally making a decision that feels right. When we break apart, she's grinning like she's won the lottery. So, wife, she says, testing out the word. What do you want to do on day 1 of our marriage? I consider this. We're in Vegas. We're newlyweds. We have a honeymoon suite and apparently my credit card has already taken a serious hit. I want breakfast, I decide. Somewhere with pancakes. And then I want you to explain to me exactly how we ended up at an Elvis chapel in the first place because my memory gets really fuzzy after the 3rd unicorn tear. Oh God. Riley's face goes pale. You don't remember the karaoke bar? What karaoke bar? Or the tattoo parlor? What tattoo parlor? She pulls up her sleeve, and there on her left shoulder is a small, surprisingly well-done tattoo of a cartoon autumn leaf with a tiny smiling face. I yank up my own sleeve. There's a cartoon Riley raccoon on my shoulder. Because Riley's last name is Chin and in college, we'd decided that her spirit animal was a trash panda. We got matching tattoos, I say slowly. We got matching tattoos, she confirms. And then we got married. Actually, we got married first. The tattoos were after to commemorate the occasion. I fall back on the bed, staring at the mirrored ceiling because of course there's a mirrored ceiling, and start laughing so hard that tears stream down my face. Riley lies down next to me, our shoulders touching, both of us staring at our reflections. This is the dumbest thing we've ever done, I say. Remember when we tried to make homemade fireworks? Second dumbest thing. Remember when you convinced me to go blonde? Okay, top 5 dumbest things. She turns her head to look at me and I turn to look at her, and we're nose to nose on this ridiculous heart-shaped bed in this ridiculous city where we've done this ridiculous thing. I'm glad it's you, Riley whispers. If I had to accidentally marry someone and then convince them to stay married for a month, I'm glad it's you. And the thing is, I'm glad it's her too. Even though this is crazy. Even though this could destroy our friendship. Even though I'm terrified and confused and still slightly hungover. I'm glad it's Riley. Come on, wife, I say, sitting up and pulling her with me. Let's go get those pancakes. And then you're going to tell me every single embarrassing thing I did last night, and I'm going to suffer through it with dignity. You serenaded a slot machine. I what? You told it that it had beautiful eyes. I'm never drinking again. You said that last time. Last time I didn't wake up married. But I'm smiling when I say it and she's smiling back, and maybe, just maybe, this won't be a complete disaster. Maybe it'll just be a partial disaster. Or maybe if I'm very lucky and very brave, it'll be the best mistake I've ever made. The pancakes turn out to be a mistake of a different kind, specifically the kind that comes from a 24-hour diner called Stack 'em High, where the syrup is suspiciously bright and the waitress calls everyone sugar, in a way that feels vaguely threatening. But Riley's sitting across from me in a booth with duct-taped upholstery, wearing borrowed sunglasses to hide her hangover eyes, and she's trying to eat a pancake stack the size of a small child while explaining how we ended up married, and I'm realizing something terrible. I think I might actually be in love with my best friend. Not the, oh no, I'm catching feelings kind of love. The, oh shit, I've been in love with her for years and aggressively ignored it kind. So there we were, Riley's saying, drowning her pancakes in enough syrup to constitute a health hazard, outside the Bellagio fountains, and you were crying because the water was dancing so beautifully, and it reminded you that love is real. I did not. You did. You absolutely did. There's video. Delete it. Never. It's my insurance policy. She grins at me over her coffee cup. Black, no sugar, the same way she's always taken it. Anyway, you were having this whole emotional moment and then you turned to me and said, Riley, we should get married. I dropped my fork. I proposed. You proposed. Very romantically, I might add. You got down on one knee right there on the sidewalk. Some tourists started filming. You said, and I quote, Riley Chin, you're the only person who's ever made me feel like I'm not just screaming into the void of existence. Will you marry me and also share your fries because I ate all of mine? This sounds exactly like something drunk Autumn would say. And you said yes, I say slowly, because? Riley's smile falters just slightly. Because I've been waiting for you to ask me something like that for 10 years. And I know you were drunk and I know you probably didn't mean it the way I wanted you to mean it, but I thought, maybe if we did it, if we actually went through with it, you'd wake up and realize what I already knew. Which was that we're supposed to be together. She says it simply like she's commenting on the weather. That we've always been supposed to be together and we've just been too scared or stupid or stubborn to admit it. The waitress comes by to refill our coffee and I'm grateful for the interruption because I need a second to process the fact that Riley Chin, brilliant, chaotic, beautiful Riley Chin, has apparently been harboring a secret romance novel in her heart for a decade while I've been obliviously living my life like a sitcom character who doesn't know they're in love until the season finale. What if I don't realize it? I ask when the waitress leaves. What if we do this whole month thing and I wake up on day 31 and I still just see you as my friend? The hurt that flashes across Riley's face is quick, but I catch it. She hides it behind her coffee cup. Then we get the annulment, she says quietly. And we figure out how to be friends again. That was the deal. But what if we can't? Can't what? Go back to being friends. What if trying this ruins everything? Riley sets down her cup with more force than necessary. Autumn, do you want to know what would ruin everything? Spending the rest of our lives wondering, what if? Watching you date other people and wondering if they make you laugh the way I do. Watching you fall in love with someone else and having to smile and be supportive while my heart is actively breaking. That would ruin everything. Her voice has risen slightly and a couple in the next booth glances over. Riley doesn't notice or doesn't care. I've spent 10 years being your best friend and wanting more, she continues. 10 years of almosts and nearlys and moments where I thought maybe you felt it too, but then you'd start dating someone new and I'd have to pretend I was fine. I'm tired of pretending, Autumn. I'm tired of being fine with almost. I stare at her, my pancakes forgotten, and I'm running through 10 years of memories like someone shuffling through a deck of cards, looking for the moments she's talking about. The almosts. And I find them. That night after my college graduation when we'd gotten drunk on cheap wine and slow danced in our apartment to no music, and she'd looked at me like she wanted to say something important, but then my phone rang and the moment passed. The weekend we'd gone to that cabin upstate and shared a bed because the heating broke in one room, and I'd woken up with her arm around me and felt so safe, so right that I'd stayed still for an extra hour just to keep feeling it. Last New Year's Eve when we'd kissed at midnight, as a joke, we'd both said, but it had lasted several seconds longer than a joke should last. All the times she'd touched my hand or my shoulder or my hair, and I'd felt that spark but convinced myself I was imagining it. Oh God, I'm an idiot. I need you to stop looking at me like that, Riley says, and her voice sounds strained. Like what? Like you're solving a puzzle. Like I'm a problem you need to figure out. You're not a problem, I say automatically. You're. The words stick in my throat because I don't know how to finish that sentence. You're my best friend. You're the most important person in my life. You're the standard against which I've measured everyone else without realizing it. You're the person I might be in love with, and I'm terrified. Instead, I reach across the table and take her hand. Her fingers are cold from holding the coffee cup, and I rub my thumb across her knuckles the way I've done 100 times before. Except this time it means something different. This time I'm letting it mean something different. I can't promise you I'll wake up in 30 days with everything figured out, I say carefully. I can't promise this will end the way you want it to. But I can promise I'll really try. No sabotaging. No running away. I'll actually give this a real shot. Yeah. Her voice is small, hopeful. Yeah. I squeeze her hand. Besides, we've already got the tattoos. Might as well commit to the bit. She laughs and the tension breaks like a soap bubble. We finish our pancakes. Or rather, we make a valiant attempt before admitting defeat because apparently Vegas diners don't understand reasonable portion sizes. Riley insists on paying even though I point out that technically as my wife her money is my money. That's not how marriage works, she informs me. How would you know? You've been married for exactly, I check my phone, 14 hours. 15, she corrects. We got married at 11:47 p.m. I remember because the Elvis impersonator said it was almost midnight and we should start our marriage in the new day, and you said that was poetic as fuck. I need to stop drinking. You really do. We walk back to the hotel in the late morning heat, Las Vegas looking significantly less glamorous in daylight. The strip is littered with flyers for escort services and drunk tourists in yesterday's clothes. Someone's throwing up in a planter. It's romantic as hell. Riley takes my hand as we walk and I let her, and it feels both completely natural and earth-shatteringly significant at the same time. So, she says, swinging our joined hands slightly, what do newlyweds do in Vegas? Regret their life choices? Besides that, well, we could gamble away our life savings. Visit the Hoover Dam. See a Cirque du Soleil show where people bend in ways that seem medically inadvisable. Or, Riley says, and there's a mischievous glint in her eye that I recognize from every terrible idea we've ever had, we could actually do honeymoon stuff. Define honeymoon stuff. I don't know. What do honeymoon people do? Besides the obvious. She's blushing when she says it, and oh God, I'm blushing too because the obvious is suddenly very present in my mind. We're married. Married people do. Married people things. Not that we have to. But we could. If we wanted to. Do I want to? I glance at Riley, at the way the sunlight catches in her hair, at the curve of her neck, at her lips that I've now kissed and keep thinking about kissing again. And yeah, okay, I definitely want to. But that seems like a terrible idea for day one of our trial marriage. Probably. Maybe. Let's start with something PG-13, I suggest, because I need to ease into this before I do something impulsive like seduce my best friend in a Vegas hotel room. Like, I don't know. Couples massage. You hate massages. You told that last massage therapist that her energy was too aggressive. She was very judgy about my shoulder tension. You have the shoulders of a Victorian ghost. You carry all your stress there. She was concerned. See, this is why we work, I say, gesturing between us. You know weird shit about me like my ghost shoulders. I know everything about you, Riley says, and it's not a boast, just a fact. I know you sleep with socks on even in summer. I know you organize your books by color instead of author, which is psychotic. I know you can't eat eggs if you think too hard about where they came from. I know you cry at dog food commercials but not at actual sad movies because the movies know what they're doing, but the commercials are emotionally ambushing you. He's right. She knows all of this. What else do you know? I ask, and I'm not sure why except that I want to hear her talk about me, want to hear what I look like from the inside of her head. Riley stops walking, pulling me to the side of the sidewalk, out of the way of a bachelorette party wearing matching shirts that say brides bitches. I know you're scared right now, she says softly. I know you're probably cataloging all the ways this could go wrong. I know you're wondering if you're making a mistake. I know you're already planning your escape route just in case. I open my mouth to deny it, but she's right. I am doing all of those things. But I also know you're brave, she continues. Braver than you think you are. I know when you commit to something, you commit completely. I know you don't do anything halfway. And I know that if you're really giving this a shot, you'll give it everything you've got. That's a lot of pressure, I manage. It's not pressure. It's faith. She reaches up and tucks a strand of hair behind my ear, and the gesture is so tender it makes my chest ache. I have faith in you, Autumn. In us. Even if you don't yet. A taxi honks at us. The bachelorette party stumbles past, shrieking something about brunch. The Vegas heat is making the air shimmer. And I'm standing on a sidewalk with my accidental wife, realizing that maybe this isn't about faith or pressure or even love. Maybe it's just about finally being honest. I'm terrified, I admit. I'm completely terrified that I'm going to fuck this up. That I'm going to hurt you. That I'm going to lose the most important person in my life because I'm too broken or confused or emotionally constipated to figure out what I want. You're not broken, Riley says firmly. You're just careful. There's a difference. What if careful means I take too long to figure this out? What if 30 days isn't enough? Then we'll figure that out too. She takes both my hands now, standing in front of me on the sidewalk like we're the only two people in Vegas. Autumn, I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now. I'm just asking you to try. To be open to the possibility that maybe what we have is already love, and we've just been calling it friendship because that felt safer. The possibility. I turn the phrase over in my mind, testing it out. Is that what this is? Have I been in love with Riley all along and just not recognized it? Mistaken it for friendship because romantic love is supposed to feel different. Supposed to be butterflies and racing hearts and dramatic confessions? But what if love isn't always dramatic? What if sometimes it's quiet and steady and comfortable? What if it's knowing someone so well that you can predict their order at every restaurant, and you still find new things to learn about them? What if it's feeling more yourself with one person than you do when you're alone? Hey, I say. Okay, let's do the honeymoon stuff. Not the, obvious stuff. Not yet. But the other stuff. Let's be tourists. Let's be newlyweds. Let's see what this feels like when we stop pretending we're just friends. Riley's smile could power the entire Vegas Strip. There's a gondola ride at the Venetian, she suggests. Super touristy. Completely cheesy. The gondoliers sing opera. That sounds perfect. And it does. It sounds perfect in a way that should worry me. The fact that a cheesy gondola ride with Riley sounds better than any fancy date I've ever been on with anyone else. But I'm trying not to overthink it. I'm trying to just be. We take a rideshare to the Venetian, and Riley insists on sitting in the middle seat so she can be close to me, and I don't point out that there's only two of us and she could just sit in the back seat normally. I just let her press against my side, her head on my shoulder, her hand in mine. The gondola ride is exactly as cheesy as promised. Our gondolier is a guy named Marcus who's clearly from New Jersey but commits fully to an Italian accent while singing O Sol Mio, with more enthusiasm than skill. The canal is indoors and kind of smells like chlorine. There are other tourists taking photos. It's ridiculous. It's wonderful. Riley's laughing at Marcus's passionate but off-key performance, and her joy is contagious, and I'm laughing too, and at some point she turns to look at me and our faces are very close and she whispers, "Can I kiss you?" And I whisper back, "Yeah." So she does. She kisses me in a gondola in a fake Venice in Las Vegas while a guy from Newark sings Italian opera. And it's the best kiss of my entire life. Not because it's particularly skilled or dramatic. But because it's Riley. Because her hand comes up to cup my cheek. Because she tastes like coffee and syrup. Because when we break apart she's looking at me like I'm something precious. Because for the first time and maybe ever, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Marcus finishes his song and says something in fake Italian that I think means, congratulations. And Riley tells him we just got married and he insists on singing another song and I should be embarrassed but I'm not. I'm just happy. When the ride ends, we wander through the casino, and Riley wants to try her luck at blackjack even though neither of us really knows how to play. We lose $40 in 15 minutes, but Riley's previous dealer takes pity on us and explains the rules, and we end up winning back 30. We're up -$10. Riley announces proudly. That's not how math works. It's Vegas math. Different rules. We have lunch at a restaurant that's trying very hard to be fancy, and we definitely don't belong here in our yesterday's clothes with our hangover eyes, but the waiter doesn't kick us out. Riley orders wine and I raise an eyebrow. Hair of the dog, she explains. We're not dogs. We're humans with poor decision-making skills. Tomato, tomato. That doesn't work in text form. Good thing we're not in text form. She's doing it again. That thing where she makes me laugh without even trying, where conversation with her feels like a game we're both winning. Over pasta that costs more than our combined Vegas losses, Riley tells me about the karaoke bar. Apparently I sang Total Eclipse of the Heart, with enough passion to make several people cry. And the tattoo parlor. We'd originally wanted to get each other's faces tattooed but the artist had talked us down to something less likely to result in regret. Do you regret it? I ask, gesturing to the tattoo hidden under her sleeve. The tattoo, the marriage, all of it? Riley considers this, twirling pasta around her fork with the kind of focus she usually reserves for complex problems. No, she says finally. Even if this all goes sideways, even if we end up getting the annulment and having to figure out how to be friends after being married, I don't regret it. Because at least I'll know. At least I'll have tried. The only thing I'd regret is not taking this chance. You're really brave, you know that? I'm really desperate, she corrects with a small smile. There's a difference. No, you're brave. You told me how you felt. You put yourself out there. You're risking everything. So are you, Riley points out. You said yes. You're here. That's brave too. Is it? I'm not sure. It feels less like bravery and more like inevitability, like I'm finally doing something I should have done years ago. After lunch, we go back to the hotel because we need to actually check out. Our original room was only booked for one night, and we need to either extend it or find somewhere else to stay for the rest of our honeymoon. How long are we staying in Vegas? I ask as we ride the elevator up. I took the whole week off work, Riley admits. I told my boss I was going to a wedding. I didn't specify whose. I'm supposed to be back in the office on Monday. Call in sick. Tell them you've got married person disease. That's not a thing. It is now. You've got a certificate and everything. I pull out my phone and text my boss, a woman named Patricia who's generally understanding about my chaotic life, and tell her I need a few personal days. She responds immediately with, "Is everything okay?" And I type back, "Everything's fine, just dealing with some unexpected life events," which is technically true. Riley's watching me over my shoulder. You're a terrible liar, she observes. I'm not lying. These are unexpected life events. You should just tell her you got married. Absolutely not. But Riley's already grabbing my phone, and there's a brief struggle that ends with her typing, "I got married in Vegas," into my text conversation with Patricia. Riley. What? It's the truth. My phone immediately starts ringing. It's Patricia. I stare at the screen in horror. Riley's grinning like this is the best entertainment she's had all year. Against my better judgment, I answer. Hey Patricia. Autumn Marie Harrison, what do you mean you got married in Vegas? I hold the phone away from my ear because Patricia's volume could shatter glass. It's a long story? I want the short version. I glance at Riley, who's making encouraging gestures. I married my best friend while drunk, and now we're seeing if we actually want to stay married. There's a long pause on the other end of the line. Then, that's the most you thing I've ever heard. Is that a compliment? Take the week. Take 2 weeks if you need them. But I expect a full report when you get back and also wedding photos. There are definitely wedding photos, Riley calls out loudly enough for Patricia to hear. I like her already, Patricia shouts back. Don't screw this up, Autumn. She hangs up before I can respond. I lower the phone slowly, looking at Riley. Did my boss just give us her blessing? She did. And now you have 2 weeks off. Riley's practically bouncing. 2 weeks to be married in Vegas. 2 weeks to figure this out. 2 weeks, I repeat, and it sounds both impossibly long and not nearly long enough. The elevator dings. We've reached our floor. We step out into the hallway with its garish carpet and ice machine hum, and Riley takes my hand again and I let her, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is the start of something. Or maybe it's the continuation of something that's been there all along. Either way, I'm ready to find out. We extend our stay at the hotel for the full 2 weeks, which costs approximately $1 million. Or maybe just feels like it when you're watching your credit card weep. The honeymoon suite remains ours, complete with the heart-shaped bed, mirrored ceiling, and jacuzzi tub that's definitely seen things that would make a blacklight investigation inadvisable. We should christen the tub, Riley suggests on day 2, and I nearly choke on the complimentary champagne that came with our extended booking. I'm sorry, what? Not like that. She's blushing furiously, which is adorable and makes me want to kiss her again. I've been wanting to kiss her a lot lately. This is either a very good or very bad sign. I meant like actually use it. When was the last time you took a bath? 2019. Exactly. You're a shower person. This is your chance to expand your horizons. My horizons are fine where they are, thanks. But 30 minutes later I'm in a bathtub full of hotel-provided bubbles that smell like desert rose, which apparently smells like vanilla and broken dreams, and Riley's in there with me, both of us in swimsuits because we're not quite at the naked in a tub stage of whatever this is, and she's telling me about the time in college when she accidentally joined a cult. It wasn't a real cult, she clarifies, bubbles on her nose. It was a multi-level marketing scheme for essential oils, but they had cult vibes. There was chanting. You never told me this story. Because it's embarrassing. I got recruited at a farmer's market. They promised me financial freedom and clear skin. And you got? 40 bottles of lavender oil and mild financial anxiety. I'm laughing so hard I'm crying and the bubbles are getting everywhere and Riley's laughing too, and this right here, is what I've been afraid of losing. This ease. This comfort. This feeling like I can be completely myself even when myself is a disaster in a bathtub. Can I ask you something? Riley says when we've calmed down. Always. When did you know? About me. When did you start thinking about me as maybe more than a friend? It's a fair question. When I've been asking myself. I lean back against the tub watching the bubbles drift. I don't think there was a single moment, I admit. I think it was a lot of small moments that I didn't let myself examine too closely. Like that time you flew out to see me when my dad was in the hospital even though you had finals. Or when you learned to make that complicated Indian curry recipe because I mentioned once that it was my comfort food. Or every time you looked at me and I felt seen. Seen, Riley repeats softly. Yeah. Like you were the only person who actually saw me. Not the version I perform for other people but the real me. The messy, anxious, overthinking me. That's my favorite version of you, Riley says, and she's moved closer in the tub, bubbles parting around her. The real one. Even when I'm spiraling about whether plants can feel pain? Especially then. She kisses me and I kiss her back, and it's different this time. Slower, deeper, like we have all the time in the world. Which I guess we do for the next 12 days at least. When we break apart, I'm breathless and flushed and definitely not from the bath temperature. We should get out, Riley says, but she doesn't move. Probably, I agree, also not moving. The water's getting cold. Is it? No. We stay in the tub until we're pruned and the bubbles have dissolved, and then we get out and wrap ourselves in the hotel robes that are absurdly soft, and Riley orders room service while I flip through the Vegas entertainment guide. There's a magic show, I announce. The magician's name is Mysterio the Magnificent. That's either the best name or the worst name. I can't decide. There's also a Celine Dion hologram concert. A hologram? Of someone who's still alive. Vegas is weird. Vegas is efficient. Why wait until she's dead to make her a hologram? We end up not going to either event. Instead, we order an obscene amount of room service. Burgers, fries, 3 different desserts, and a bottle of wine that costs more than my monthly phone bill. And we eat in bed while watching terrible reality TV. This is very married of us, Riley observes, stealing one of my fries. What, eating in bed? No, the casual intimacy. The sharing food. The comfortable silence punctuated by commentary about whether Brittany is really here for the right reasons. Brittany is absolutely not here for the right reasons. Obviously. It is comfortable, I realize. Being with Riley like this. I've been waiting for things to feel awkward or forced, for the trying to be romantic part to clash with the being best friends part. But they don't clash. They complement each other like finding out your favorite song has a harmony you never noticed before. On day 3, we venture out of the hotel again. Riley wants to see the Neon Museum, the graveyard of old Vegas signs, as she calls it, and I want to make fun of tourists at the Bellagio fountains. I've become what I feared. So we compromise and do both. The Neon Museum is surprisingly moving. All these old signs that used to shine and attract crowds, now sitting in the desert sun like forgotten promises. It's kind of sad, I say, standing in front of a massive sign from a casino that closed in the 90s. It's kind of beautiful, Riley counters. They had their moment. They shined bright. Just because that moment's over doesn't make it meaningless. I look at her instead of the sign. Are you talking about the signs or us? Both, maybe. She takes my hand, lacing our fingers together. I used to worry about that, you know. That even if I told you how I felt and you felt it too, it would burn bright and fast and then burn out. That we'd be like these signs, beautiful for a moment, then just a memory. And now I think maybe some things are worth the risk of burning out. And maybe some things don't burn out at all. Maybe they just change form. A tour group passes us, the guide explaining the history of some sign from the 60s. Riley and I stand there holding hands in a graveyard of neon, and I think about change and risk and all the things I've been too afraid to reach for. I'm glad you're here, I tell her. I'm glad we're doing this. Yeah. At the Bellagio fountains we stand with the crowd and watch the water dance to Con di Partiro, and I don't cry this time, growth. But Riley does just a little, and I put my arm around her and she leans into me and I think, this is what partnership looks like. Not just romance. Not just friendship. Both. Together. Intertwined. That night we go to an actual nice dinner. Like the kind where there's more than one fork and the waiter judges you if you don't know which one to use. Riley wears a dress I've never seen before, dark green and fitted, and I literally stop breathing for a second when she comes out of the bathroom. Too much? She asks, suddenly uncertain. Not enough, I say before I can think better of it. I mean, you look your... Wow, and here I thought you were the one with the English degree. Words are hard when you look like that. She smiles, pleased and embarrassed, and does a little spin. I bought it for tonight. I wanted to. She trails off, fidgeting with the hem. Wanted to what? I wanted to look like someone worth marrying on purpose instead of by accident. The vulnerability in her voice cracks something open in my chest. I cross the room and take her face in my hands. Riley Chin, you could show up in a garbage bag and you'd be worth marrying on purpose. You're worth everything on purpose. That's very romantic for someone who claims not to know how romance works. I'm learning from the best. I kiss her before we leave, and it takes significant willpower to actually leave instead of staying in and doing things that would definitely test the structural integrity of that heart-shaped bed. Dinner is incredible. We order things we can't pronounce and share everything and laugh too loudly and don't care when other diners glance over. The sommelier recommends a wine that costs more than my rent, and Riley orders it without blinking, and when I protest she reminds me that this is our honeymoon and we're supposed to be impractical. Over dessert, some chocolate thing that's more art than food, Riley reaches across the table and takes my hand. Can I tell you something potentially scary? She asks. My stomach does a flip. Always. This doesn't feel like trying. Being with you like this feels like coming home. Like I've been wandering around for 10 years and I finally found where I'm supposed to be. I squeeze her hand, my throat tight. That's not scary, I manage. That's perfect. The scary part is that I know we said 30 days. Well, now it's more like 25, but I already know. I already know that I want this to be real. That I don't want an annulment. That I want to be married to you for real, not as a trial run. Riley. You don't have to say anything, she interrupts quickly. I know you need time. I know you need to figure things out. I'm not trying to pressure you. I just wanted you to know where I stand. Full honesty, right? That was the rule. Full honesty, I agree. So I take a breath and give it to her. I'm not there yet, I admit, and I watch her try to hide her disappointment. But I'm getting there. Every day I'm getting closer. And that terrifies me because I've never felt this way about anyone. I've never had so much to lose. You won't lose me, Riley says fiercely. Even if you decide this isn't what you want, you won't lose me. I meant what I said. I'd rather have you as a friend than not have you at all. You say that now, but... Autumn. He says my name like a complete sentence. I've loved you for 10 years without saying anything. I can love you for another 10 as your friend if that's what you need. It would hurt like hell, but I'd do it. Because you're worth it. And that's when I know. Not that I love her. I think I've known that for a while, even if I wasn't ready to admit it. But that she loves me. Really truly loves me. The kind of love that isn't about possession or control or needing someone to complete you. The kind that's about choosing someone every day even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Dance with me, I say abruptly. What? Dance with me. Right here. Autumn, there's no dance floor. There's no music. So, we've danced to no music before. I stand up holding out my hand. The other diners are definitely staring now. The waiter looks concerned. Riley looks at my hand like it's a gift she's afraid to accept. Then she takes it. I pull her close in the middle of this fancy restaurant and we sway to nothing, and it's ridiculous and perfect and so completely us that I start laughing. Riley's laughing too, her forehead pressed to mine. We're going to get kicked out, she whispers. Worth it, I whisper back. We don't get kicked out. The waiter actually looks charmed. An older couple at a nearby table starts slow clapping. Riley buries her face in my neck and I can feel her smiling against my skin. When we finally sit back down, our dessert has melted slightly, but neither of us cares. You're full of surprises, Riley says, a little breathless. I'm trying to keep up with you. You don't have to try. You already... She stops herself, shaking her head. I already what? You already own my entire heart. You have for years. I'm just waiting for you to realize you want it. The honesty of it, the openness, it should scare me. It doesn't. Instead, it makes me brave. I'm realizing, I tell her. I'm getting there. Her smile is sunrise and sunset and every beautiful thing in between. We walk back to the hotel instead of taking a rideshare, even though it's far and my feet hurt in these heels. But Riley keeps stopping to point out interesting things. A street performer juggling fire, a group of Elvis impersonators having what appears to be a heated debate, a wedding chapel with a sign that says, "Marriages and Mistakes since 1985. Think that's where we got married? I ask, pointing at it. No, ours had better lighting. I remember that much. What else do you remember? She considers this, swinging our joined hands. I remember you crying during the vows. Happy crying, you said. You kept saying, this is the best bad idea we've ever had. Past me was wise. Past you was drunk. But not wrong. She stops walking, pulling me to a halt on the sidewalk. Autumn, can I ask you something? You keep asking if you can ask me things. Just ask. Do you think you could love me? Not as a friend. More. As everything. The question should feel heavy, but it doesn't. Feels like relief. I think I already do, I admit. I think I have for a while. I was just too scared to look at it directly. And now I'm still scared. But I'm looking anyway. Riley kisses me right there on the Vegas Strip, with tourists streaming past and lights flashing and someone's boombox playing Viva Las Vegas in the distance. And I kiss her back like I mean it. Because I do. When we get back to the room, there's a bottle of champagne waiting with a note that says, "Congratulations, newlyweds." And we both laugh because we'd almost forgotten that to the hotel staff. We're just another couple who got married in Vegas. Except we're not. We're us. Want some? Riley asks, gesturing to the champagne. God no. I'm never drinking again. You said that yesterday. I mean it more today. We change into pajamas. Riley's are silk and mine are cotton with cartoon cats on them, which pretty much sums up our aesthetic differences, and we climb into the ridiculous heart-shaped bed. Riley immediately curls into my side like she's done 1,000 times before during movie nights or lazy Sundays or those nights when one of us had a nightmare and needed the comfort of the other. Except this time I wrap my arm around her and press a kiss to the top of her head, and it's both familiar and entirely new. Hey Riley. I say into the darkness. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to say something. For not giving up on this. For loving me even when I was too oblivious to see it. You weren't oblivious, she murmurs, already half asleep. You were careful. You needed time. That's okay. I don't need as much time as I thought, I tell her, but she's already asleep, her breathing even and deep. I lie there in the dark in a hotel room in Vegas, married to my best friend, and I think about the future. Not the distant future. Not the what happens when we go home, or what will people say future. Just tomorrow. And the day after that. And all the days I get to spend figuring out how to love Riley the way she deserves. The way I already do. I fall asleep smiling. Day 7 dawns with Riley attempting to make breakfast in our hotel room using only the coffee maker and items from the minibar. This is going to be incredible, she announces, cracking a tiny bottle of vodka into a coffee cup. That's not breakfast, that's alcoholism. It's a Bloody Mary without the tomato juice or the Mary. It's a bloody. You're going to poison us. I'm going to innovate. I watch from the bed as she creates what she calls deconstructed continental breakfast, which is just her arranging mini muffins, peanuts, and chocolate on a plate in what she claims is an artistic statement about hotel food culture. You're insane, I tell her. You married me, she counters, bringing the plate over with a flourish. Technically, we married each other. Mutual insanity. The best kind. We eat her terrible breakfast creation and it's disgusting but also somehow perfect, and Riley's got chocolate on her chin, and I lean over and kiss it off without thinking, and she makes this small happy sound that goes straight to my heart. We should go somewhere today, she suggests. We've been in Vegas for a week. We should explore. We've explored plenty. We've explored the Strip. There's a whole desert out there. Red rocks. Major. Things that don't smell like cigarettes and regret. You want to go hiking? I want to go on an adventure with my wife. The way she says wife, casual, possessive, happy, makes my stomach flip. Okay, I agree. Adventure it is. We rent a car. Riley insists on a convertible because we're in Vegas and we're married and we're living our best life. And drive out to Red Rock Canyon with the top down and music blasting and Riley singing off-key to Taylor Swift. The desert is stunning in a way that makes Vegas seem fake by comparison. All red stone and blue sky and silence that isn't empty, just full of different sounds. Wind and birds and our footsteps on the trail. It's beautiful, Riley breathes, stopping at a viewpoint. Yeah, I agree, but I'm looking at her instead of the landscape. He catches me. You're supposed to be looking at the rocks. I've seen rocks. I'm looking at something better. That was smooth. Have you been practicing? Maybe I'm just naturally gifted at romance now. Or maybe you're just falling for me. She says it lightly, teasingly, but there's a question underneath. Maybe I am, I admit. Riley turns to face me fully, the desert wind whipping her hair around her face. Yeah. I take a breath. Riley, I need to tell you something. Oh God, is this the part where you tell me you've been thinking and you want the annulment and... I love you. She stops mid-sentence, mouth open. You what? I love you. Not just as my friend. As everything. The way you love me. I think I have for a long time, and I was just too scared or stupid or both to admit it. You're not stupid, Riley says automatically, and then, wait. Go back. You love me. I love you. Like capital L love? Like every kind of love. Past, present, future love. The whole thing. Her eyes are shining and she's trying not to cry and I'm trying not to cry and we're both failing spectacularly. Since when? She asks. I don't know. Maybe since that day with the drool and the flannel. Maybe since you helped me move and we ate pizza on the floor of my empty apartment and you said it felt like home. Maybe since every moment we've ever had. Does it matter? No, Riley says, and she's crying for real now. No, it doesn't matter. You love me. I love you. I confirm, and then she's kissing me with the entire desert as our witness, and it's the best kiss yet because this time, we both know what it means. When we break apart, she's grinning through her tears. So does this mean we're keeping the marriage? She asks. We're keeping the marriage. We're keeping everything. You're stuck with me now. Best news I've heard all decade. We hike for another hour holding hands talking about everything and nothing. About what happens when we go home, we'll have to tell our families. Terrifying. Our friends, they'll never let us live this down. Our co-workers, mixed reactions predicted. My mom's going to kill me, I say. My mom's going to kill you, Riley counters. Then she's going to kill me. Then she's going to resurrect us both so she can throw us a proper wedding. Oh God, a proper wedding. With a guest list. And seating charts. And probably a slideshow of embarrassing childhood photos. Can we just stay in Vegas forever? Tempting, but we have jobs. And a cat. Optimus Prime. We forgot about our son. Our neighbor's been feeding him. I arranged it before we left. Told her we were going to a wedding. You planned this, I accuse. You planned all of this. I planned for the possibility that you might say yes to giving this a real shot. I didn't plan on falling more in love with you than I already was, but here we are. Here we are, I echo, looking out at the red rocks and the impossible blue sky and the woman beside me who's somehow both my past and my future. We drive back to Vegas as the sun sets, turning the desert gold and pink and orange. Riley's hand is on my thigh while she drives and I'm taking photos of the sky, and we're both singing to some playlist she made called Songs for Falling in Love with Your Best Friend, which she apparently created 3 years ago, just in case. That's extremely presumptuous, I tell her. That's extremely prepared, she corrects. Back at the hotel we shower, separately because we're still figuring out boundaries and what we're ready for. And order room service again and eat on the balcony while watching the strip light up. 11 days left, Riley says quietly. 11 days of our honeymoon, you mean? And then the rest of our lives. He looks at me surprised. You want this? For real? Forever? I mean, let's start with the rest of the Vegas trip and see how we feel. I joke, but then I take her hand. Yes. For real. I can't promise forever because I'm still me and I'm still terrified of jinxing things. But I can promise that I want to try. That I want this. That I choose you. I choose you too, Riley says. I've been choosing you for 10 years. Well, now it counts. That night we fall asleep tangled together in the ridiculous heart-shaped bed, and I dream about the future. Our apartment will move in together properly, not just live in the same complex. Our life will get a second cat, maybe a dog. Our everything. The next morning, Riley wakes me up with terrible hotel coffee and a proposition. Let's renew our vows, she announces. We've been married for 8 days. Exactly. This time we'll remember it. This time it'll be on purpose. Riley. Please. She's doing the eyes thing, the one that's always worked on me. I want to marry you for real. Sober. With intent. I want to stand in front of Elvis or whoever and say the words and mean them and remember them. How can I say no to that? Okay, I agree. Let's do it. We find a chapel, not the one we originally got married at, but a different one that's somehow even more Vegas. It's got pink flamingos in the fountain outside and a sign that says, Chapel o' Love, where dreams come true and reason comes to die. It's perfect, Riley declares. The officiant is a woman in her 60s wearing a bedazzled Elvis costume and a name tag that says, Elvira. Get it? She asks when she sees me reading it. Elvira? Like Elvis but female. I get it, I assure her. You two getting married or remarried? She asks, looking between us. Both, Riley and I say at the same time. Don't ask, I add. Honey, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't ask questions, I just make dreams come true. She gestures to the chapel interior, which is decorated with white roses, twinkle lights, and a surprising amount of velvet. You want the full package or the economy? What's the difference? Riley asks. Full package includes music, rose petals, video recording, and I'll really commit to the Elvis voice. Economy is just the legal minimum and I'll talk normal. Full package, we say together. You two are cute, Elvira observes. How long you been together? 10 years, Riley says. 8 days, I say at the same time. Elvira looks between us. Yeah, I'm not asking. The ceremony is ridiculous and perfect. Elvira commits hard to the Elvis voice, singing Can't Help Falling in Love, with surprising emotional depth. She asks us to hold hands and look at each other, and when I meet Riley's eyes, everything else fades away. Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? Elvira asks me in her Elvis voice. To have and to hold in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part? I do, I say clearly. I really, really do. And do you, she turns to Riley, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, same deal, all the stuff? I've been waiting 10 years to say this, Riley says, tears streaming down her face. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state of Nevada and the spirit of rock and roll, I now pronounce you wife and wife. You may kiss each other. So we do. We kiss in a Vegas chapel with fake roses and real feelings, and this time we both remember it, and this time it's a promise we're both making with clear eyes and full hearts. Elvira takes our photo. We're both crying and laughing and holding each other like we'll never let go, and she prints it out on the spot and puts it in a frame that says, "Married at Chapel O' Love," with 2 cartoon flamingos kissing. Thanks, I tell her, and I mean it. No thank you, she says, dropping the Elvis voice. You two just restored my faith in love. Most people who come in here are drunk or impulsive or both. You two actually love each other. It's nice to see. Outside the chapel, Riley spins me around, both of us laughing like children. We did it, she says. We're really married. We were already really married. Yeah, but now it's really real. We spend the rest of our Vegas trip doing honeymoon things. Shows, restaurants, more terrible gambling decisions. A day at the pool where I finally get to see Riley in a bikini and have to immediately jump in the water to cool down. You okay? She asks innocently, though her smirk suggests she knows exactly what she's doing. Fine, I manage. Just hot. Very hot. The weather is hot. Uh-huh. On our last night we go back to the Bellagio fountains, standing in the same spot where drunk Autumn apparently proposed. Do you remember what you said? Riley asks as the fountains start, water dancing to some classical piece I don't recognize. You said I proposed. I thought you were joking. I wasn't. You got down on one knee right here. You were crying because the fountains were so beautiful, and you said, Riley Chin, you're the love of my life, and I didn't even know it. Marry me. I stare at her. I said you were the love of my life? You did. Drunk you knew what sober you was too scared to admit. Drunk me is smarter than I thought. Drunk you also tried to fight a palm tree, so let's not give her too much credit. I pull Riley close, both of us watching the water arc and fall and shimmer in the lights. You are though, I tell her. The love of my life. Drunk me had it right. She tilts her face up to kiss me, and tourists definitely take photos of us, and I don't care. I'm married to Riley Chin, and it's the best decision I've ever made. Even if I made it while blackout drunk on unicorn tears. We fly home the next day, back to reality, back to our lives that now have to make room for this new version of us. On the plane, Riley falls asleep on my shoulder, same as she's done 100 times before, but this time I press a kiss to her forehead, and the flight attendant gives me a knowing smile. Newlyweds, she asks quietly. How could you tell? You can't stop smiling. Either newlyweds or you just won the lottery. Both, I say, and it's true. When we land, reality hits fast. We have to tell people. We have to figure out logistics. We have to actually be married in the real world, not just in Vegas. But first we have to face Mrs. Rodriguez from 4B, who's waiting by our apartment door with Optimus Prime and a knowing look. So, she says, eyeing our matching rings. The wedding you went to? Riley and I look at each other. We got married, I admit. To each other. In Vegas. While drunk. Then we renewed our vows sober. It's a whole thing. Mrs. Rodriguez considers this. Then, I knew it. I told my husband, I said, those two are going to end up together. He said I was being nosy. But I was right. She hands me Optimus Prime, who meows indignantly at being held. Congratulations, you beautiful disasters. Try not to kill each other during the first year. That's when it's hardest. Good to know, Riley says faintly. We let ourselves into my apartment, which will become our apartment, we've already decided, and set down our bags and look at each other. We're home, I say. We're married, Riley says. We're completely insane. Best kind of insane. Optimus Prime wins between our legs, purring, apparently blessing this union. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Patricia. Wedding photos. Now. Riley's phone buzzes. Her mom. Riley Autumn Chin, why did Patricia from Autumn's work just call me saying congratulations? Oh no, Riley says. Oh no, I agree. Should we run back to Vegas? Tempting. But we don't run. We sit on the couch, Riley's head on my shoulder, and we start making calls. We tell our families. Reactions range from shock to we knew it, to I need to sit down. We tell our friends, who demand all the details and photographic evidence. We tell anyone who will listen about how we got drunk, married in Vegas, and then fell in love. More in love? Finally admitted love. and decided to keep it. And through it all, Riley's hand is in mine and it feels right. Feels like coming home. 2 months later, we have a proper wedding. Because Riley's mom insisted and my mom backed her up, and when our mothers unite, resistance is futile. It's small, just family and close friends in a garden instead of a Vegas chapel with a real officiant instead of Elvira. But we wear matching white suits as a callback to that night in Vegas. And we exchange the real rings we picked out together to replace the I Heart Suit Vegas ones. And when the officiant asks if I take Riley to be my wife, I say, I do, for the third time, and it's just as meaningful as the first two. At the reception, our friends make speeches. My college roommate Sarah tells embarrassing stories. Riley's brother shows the video from our second wedding, and everyone loses it at Elvira's Elvis voice. And when Riley and I have our first dance, to Can't Help Falling in Love, because we're nothing if not on brand, she whispers in my ear, best bad decision ever? Best decision ever, I correct. Nothing bad about it. Even the part where you married me while drunk? Especially that part. Drunk me knew what she wanted. And what did she want? Always you. We kiss in front of everyone we love and they cheer, and I think about how I almost missed this. How I almost let fear stop me from having everything I ever wanted. But I didn't. I got drunk in Vegas, married my best friend, and somehow, miraculously, it worked out. Because sometimes the best things in life are the ones you don't plan. Sometimes they're the ones that choose you while you're not looking. Sometimes they're wearing a white suit and holding a marriage certificate signed by Elvis, asking you to take a chance. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you're brave enough to say yes. Not just once but twice. Not just in Vegas but everywhere. Not just for 30 days but forever. I married Riley Chin as a joke. But the joke's on me. Because I've never been more serious about anything in my life. The end. If you love stories like this, then watch either of the two videos showing on your screen right now. I'll see you there.